I'm Deanne Erdman, and I'm with Baylor College of Medicine. Microbes Are Everywhere is the 8th activity in a unit entitled The Science of Microbes. And the activity, of course, is aligned with the national standards. In this activity, students are going to culture microbes from a variety of locations of their choice and compare the results. So let's take a look at the materials. This one is a little more in materials intense than some of the others in the unit, but they're still very easy and to come up with. So you're going to need some markers, graph paper, Petri dishes, and you can use this size or the smaller size, Q-tips that are sterile, and you've got them in plastic bags, some masking tape, distilled water, pre-mixed agar, some kind of gloves to handle the agar when you're taking it from the microwave, and possibly some germ-free hand soap. In this activity, you'll want to consider, there are some safety considerations. And of course, the first one is hand washing before and after the activity. The plates, once they're poured, and once they have cultures growing on them, you want the plate to remain sealed and not open have the students not open them. When you do get ready to dispose of them, that would be an activity for the instructor to take care of. You'll want to put them in a sink, open them, spray them with 10% bleach solution, close them back up, and seal them tightly in a trash bag to be disposed of, and then they can be disposed of in the trash. When you're heating the agar, you can do this in the microwave. It comes as sort of a solid form. You want to loosen the top. You don't want it to be off, but you don't want it to be completely tight. So very, very loose. Put it in the microwave and just heat it for maybe 15 to 30 seconds at a time. Take it out, rock it back and forth to see if it's starting to liquefy. And once again, this will get quite warm, so you want to use some sort of hand protection. Once you get it liquid and it's completely melted, then you'll be ready to pour your plates. When you're pouring your plates, you will take the plate, you open it as you're getting ready to pour. Make sure that you don't place the lid down on the table. Pour, and then cover it. You pour it, cover it lightly, and as it starts to solidify, then and harden, you'll want to turn them over so that the condensation won't drip down on the media itself. So they'll be ready to go. You may also, another thing that's kind of a good idea is to pour some practice plates with just some gelatin. So just get some ordinary gelatin at the grocery store, mix it up, pour some plates with the gelatin, because this will let students practice streaking, because that's a hard technique for them to learn. They have a tendency to want to dig into the media, and the media, while it's not terribly expensive, it's still a lot more expensive than just gelatin from the grocery store. So you could do some practicing and let them work with that before they get to the actual thing. All right. Next thing that's going to happen, once students are ready, be sure and go over safety precautions with them once again, having them understand that once they've inoculated their Petri dish with a test sample, that it's going to be taped and it's going to remain taped at all times, and that they do need to wash their hands before and after. All right, now we're ready to begin. So ask students to predict where they think they're going to find the most microbes. And so they're going to select some locations. They may all want to pick out something like the bathroom, the water fountains, but have them get a little creative as to where they think they're going to find the most microbes, and rank the locations that they've picked as to first, second, third, and least. So once they've done that, they've got to prepare their data table so they're all ready. They need to label their Petri dishes so that those are marked. And in addition to the 4 Petri dishes that they have for their 4 locations, they need to label a 5th dish, which will be their control. And in this case, I'll show you in a moment exactly what we're going to do with it. In order to make a collection, you want the students to take their Q-tip out of the bag and remind them not to just take it out and stick it down on the table, because then they're going to have exposed it to whatever's on the table. So they take their Q-tip, get it wet with a little bit of distilled water. Next, they'll go to their sample location, and let's say I'm going to sample the desk here. So my Q-tip is moist. I'm going to roll it around and get a good sample of the desk. Then next, I will take my Petri dish, open the lid. I'm not going to set it down on the table. And then I will gently streak across my agar in a zigzag fashion, and I will close it. And this is where it comes in good if you've had the kids practice, because you don't want them to dig into the agar. It's going to make it hard to see the colonies. Instead, you want them to be able to just skim the surface. And they have this feeling that they're not transporting any of the microbes onto the media, but remind them of the scaling activity that we did. Remind them how small these microbes and assure them that they are there. All right, after they've done that, the Q-tip needs to go into a container for disposal. You may have some sort of a beaker or a collection dish that you can douse with a little bit of 10% Clorox and seal in a bag to throw away. And then the Petri dish needs to be sealed. So the students will continue until they've done all 4 of their locations. And then finally, with the 5th dish, they will, again, take another clean Q-tip, dip it in the distilled water, and this time they won't sample anything. They will simply just smear that across the agar and close it. So it will serve as their control, just to make sure that the distilled water and the Q-tip are not the source of the microbes. Then over the next few days, the fun comes. They can come into class and look to see growth. Have them compare among the 4 locations that they sampled. They can compare with other classmates and see if they have different growth from similar locations between different groups. It might have to do with their technique. And see how the results are matching up with their predictions. You may want to go on the internet. You can find beautiful images of all kinds of bacterial growth and fungal growth. The fungus is pretty easy to recognize from the bacteria, even if you're not really experienced at this. It gets a kind of a fuzzy look to it. And once you see some images on the internet, you'll see what we're talking about. You're not going to be able to identify the species of bacteria without taking samples of them and making special stain preparations, which you're probably not equipped to do in your classroom, but you will be able to see if there's a prevalence of bacteria or mold or both growing in some of these locations. So then, as a class, decide what was the dirtiest place in the of all the samples. Once you do that, then ask the class as a group. What about this statement? Microbes are everywhere. Were they? And if there's as many microbes everywhere as what they saw with their growth, why aren't we all sick? I think that you can take them back to the activity where we looked at different roles and varieties of microbes out in our environment and realize that while the things that get the biggest press and the most attention are the things that make us sick, obviously there's a ton of microbes out there that don't make us sick. In fact, there are multitudes of microbes that live in and on and around our body that kind of create a human ecosystem and are very helpful. They help us produce vitamins, they help us digest food, and they also help prevent and defend us from some other types of microbes. So, that's a good discussion to have with students. So what can you do to extend this? All kinds of things. I'm sure that after the students have seen this growth, they're going to think of other places that they'd like to sample. You might even do a hand washing experiment where you take unwashed hands, have somebody shake everybody's hands and take a sample from that. Then you may have some students wash just with water, some just with soaps, maybe some with a hand sanitizer of some kind. and make some samples and see what those do. So along with this, there are lots of opportunities for students to begin to get an understanding of microbes and all the different kinds of places that they can find them. This activity, you can download a PDF that's located along with this presentation. Thank you.